3 knocks. Then 3 more. Slow, patient, deliberate. The way someone knocks when they already know you're home. Mara Voss froze with a coolant wrench half turned in her glove, and every muscle in the cargo bay of the mining vessel Halcyon went still with her. The sound came from outside, from the far side of 40 centimeters of layered hull, past that, from the dead black vacuum where nothing lived and nothing moved. She held her breath and waited. The knocks did not repeat, but something in her chest, some animal thing older than reason, had already understood what her mind refused. That had not been the ship settling. That had been a hand. Mara didn't scream. She was too practical for that, and screaming was a habit for people who could be heard. Out here, no one could. The Halcyon was a hollowed-out ore hauler, 6 sleeping crew and 1 bad-tempered engineer, chewing slowly through a nickel-iron asteroid at the frayed edge of a system with no name that mattered. Home was a smear of light no bigger than the others. She'd taken this contract for the money and the silence, a woman running from a divorce, a debt, and a face she couldn't stand in mirrors. Silence had been the whole appeal. Now the silence was knocking, and she wanted her old noise back. She told herself the truth first, because the truth was supposed to be a wall you could put your back against. Sound needs something to travel through. Air, water, metal. Space has none of that. Out there, a scream isn't quiet, it simply doesn't exist. Nothing outside the ship could reach her ears through the vacuum. So a knock, a real one, could only mean one thing. Something had to physically touch the hull, press against it, strike it, and let the vibration crawl inward through the steel itself. Not a sound crossing space. A sound being made on the door. Mara laid her bare hand flat against the cold interior wall and waited to feel it choose again. The navigation console gave her the second wall, and it was worse than the first. She pulled the proximity chart, hands steady out of pure will. Nearest vessel, a survey ship, 400 light years distant. She made herself feel that number, light. The fastest thing there is, needed 4 centuries to cross that gap. If that ship had sent anything the day it launched, it would arrive when everyone aboard was 400 years dead. It could not be knocking on her hull tonight. Nothing could. Between the Halcyon and the next living hand lay a wall of empty so wide that even a cry for help would outlive the species that sent it. She was, in every direction, completely alone. So Mara did what good engineers do. She built a list of reasons to not be afraid. Ships make noise. She'd read the old logs, Apollo, the stations, all of them. When a hull slides from sunlight into shadow, the metal contracts and it snaps like knuckles. Thermal shock, sharp as a gunshot, harmless as weather. Micrometeoroids, grains no bigger than sand, strike at kilometers a second and ring the plating like a struck bell. Cargo settles. Ice in the ore sublimates and cracks. Coolant lines hammer. Every eerie tap in the dark had a dull, ordinary father. She recited the whole list twice, out loud, in the empty bay. And for a few minutes, God help her, it worked. Then the knocking came back and her list fell apart in her hands. Thermal snaps are random. They don't wait. Impacts don't pause. Settling ice doesn't hold a beat. But this had rhythm. 3, then 3, then 3. Even spaced the same each time, like a metronome, like breathing, like a code. She ran the hull sensors and the vibration traced to a single point on the outer plating, port side, aft, and it moved, slowly, along the seam, as if something out there had found the edge of the door and was following it, feeling for the latch. The science had explained every sound the ship could make. It had no word at all for one that answered. Mara should have woken the crew. Instead, she did the reckless human thing. The thing curiosity always wins over sense. She picked up the wrench, she raised it to the wall, and she knocked. Twice. Sharp, clean, into the metal. Then she stood there with her heart slamming and told herself, please, please let this stay quiet. Let this be nothing. Let me be a foolish, tired woman alone in the dark. The bay hummed. The recyclers ticked. 10 seconds. 20. She began to breathe again. And then from the far side of the hull, patient and unmistakable and answering her exactly, came 2 knocks back. She ran, down the spine of the ship, through the cold corridor to wake the others. Because whatever this was, It was no longer hers to carry alone. But the crew quarters were sealed and dark, and the roster panel glowed a soft, terrible green. All 6 pods occupied, all 6 under. Sleep cycle running normal. Not one of them had stirred. Not one had heard a thing. She stood in the humming hallway with the truth settling onto her like frost. The knocking chose the one bay where one waking person sat alone. It had waited until she was by herself. It knew the difference. And out here, 400 years from the nearest witness, knowing was the most frightening word she owned. The comms array was screaming when she reached it, a receive light she'd never once seen lit. Something was coming in. Not sound. Sound can't cross the void. But radio? Electromagnetic, riding the vacuum at light speed the way physics allows. The system caught it, decoded it, rendered it into audio the way it was built to. And through the speaker, thin and stretched and wrong, came knocking. The same 3-beat pattern. Except the array swore the signal's origin was 0 range. Distance to source, 0 meters. It was arriving from 400 light years out, and from directly against her hull at the very same instant. 2 answers. Both true, both impossible. Mara's hand hovered over the reply key and did not move. She never pressed the key. She didn't have to. The speaker crackled, the knocking stopped, and into the perfect dead silence of a ship 400 years from anything, a voice came through the array, flat, patient, assembled from pieces of her own transmission logs stitched together from every word she'd ever recorded. It said her name. Just her name. Mara. Kind. Almost. The way you'd say it through a door to someone you were coming in to see. And she understood, finally and completely, that it had never been knocking to be let out of the dark. It had spent this whole long night learning from her how to be let in. That is where the intercepted log ends. We picked it up centuries after it was sent, a fragile radio ghost that crossed the dark and reached our antennas the way real signals do. Late, faint, and honest. The Halcyon was never found. The survey ship, 400 light years off, reported nothing. The physics is clean and merciless. No sound can cross empty space. No hand can knock on a hull with 1,000 light years of nothing around it. No ship can answer from 0 range and infinite range at once. Every law says what Mara heard could not exist. And yet the recording keeps playing. A voice saying her name, waiting, patient as ever for someone to knock back.